Welcome to the Guitar Dads Podcast, a podcast for guitar people by guitar dads. This week, one band is back in black, the Rock Hall nominees come out, a shocker at the Super Bowl halftime show, and Gibson brings back yet another old model. Will it reign supreme? This week on the Guitar Dads Podcast. Now, the dudes who, according to one listener, will never reign supreme, Matt and Dave.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
Whose cuisine reigns supreme?
Oh God!
Sorry, I talked over your. Sorry, I talked over your. And I'm Dave.
No, you're better off that way. Everybody's better off that way.
You remember that Iron Chef? Whose cuisine reigns supreme?
Reigns supreme.
With that actor, the Asian actor. What's his name?
Oh yeah, what was his name? Oh yeah,
yeah.
They still do an Asian chef. They still do an Iron Chef.
Iron Chef. I have no idea. I think they've done different. Now they have different iterations of it.
Yeah, there's all these spin-offs of that, which is they're cool. They're very cool. My wife loves watching those, and the kids. Anyway, all right. Well, welcome.
I'm going to be coughing a lot, just so we know.
Okay, well, hit the mute button.
It's gotten better though.
You got a cough button.
I'll try to mute myself. Yeah. All right.
Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody, and thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new, thanks for checking us out. Hope you come back for more. And if you are a loyal listener, thanks for coming back. We appreciate you all. And you know where to find us, over at Guitar Dads Podcast on Instagram. And you can check out all these crazy memes and videos of the show and all that stuff. And come join the private Facebook group at Guitar Dads Podcast. Having a lot of fun over there. And of course, most importantly, go check out patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast if you want to support the show. And if you do support the show, you do get bonus content, and it's going to be coming at you a little faster as we go through the year. We're going to be bringing more stuff to you. So yeah, you don't want to jump on that and get the bonus content. Go to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast. And hey,
yes.
if you're not digging what we've been doing, we'd love your suggestions. We do a listener mailbag every week. I post on Facebook. We absolutely want your suggestions. We love them.
We do.
And you guys really help drive the show. So if you have any ideas and you don't dig what we're talking about, you want to hear us talk about something else, please chime in. We love it. So,
you're in the driver's seat.
You are.
Kind of,
anyway.
Not really. You're kind of like in the passenger seat. Like we're really driving, but you can be like a really good passenger driver. So.
Yeah, you're like a backseat driver,
Yeah.
But we actually do want to hear from you. It's not like when we're driving and our wives are like, and you're going, you're tailgating a little bit and just grabbing like the, no, none of that stuff. Anyway. All right. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it, dude. Where are we going? The Dataverse.
Where we going? The Dataverse. All right. Well, this week, what should we do first? There's a lot of news.
There's a lot of excitement.
The Super Bowl.
Let's start with the Super Bowl. Yeah, let's start with the Super Bowl.
We're gonna get into this a lot more later. So stick around. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about this guitar later on in the show in our gear segment. So stick around for that. But
okay,
I think the guitar world was kind of taken by storm.
Oh,
with the. Is there going to be a new H.E.R signature?
Oh my God! So I'm watching the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm having a great time. I think Usher's awesome. I think the whole thing's great. Alicia Keys is great.
It was great. It was awesome.
And then it goes into the boop 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 boop, and I'm like, yeah! And I was getting really excited. I was having a fun time. And then, H.E.R comes out with this freaking ridiculous looking guitar, ridiculously good looking guitar. And it just blew me away. I was like, what is going on? That looks incredible.
Looks
I'm like, does she have a new red signature? What is happening? So then I was blown
we have
away.
the answer to that question later. So stick around.
Yes, we do. But that
But
was
yeah,
cool.
so it sounds like you like the halftime show as much as I did, and I didn't think I was going to really dig it. We've been railing on the NFL lately because Rock hasn't returned to the Super Bowl in years,
Yeah.
and but this one really did it for me. I actually really dug it.
You actually liked it. No, I think
Yeah.
Usher's awesome, and he had some nice guests with them, and yeah, it was cool. I don't know. I mean, it's a fun kind of pop spectacle.
Spectacle, yeah,
Skeptical.
it is a it is a spectacle. But I
It's
got a
like a
question for
pop
you.
spectacle. Yeah.
Speaking of her, we're not going to talk about the guitar yet, but speaking of her, now Usher was singing live most of the night. It looked like, except for a couple
It
parts
did
that
seem like he was playing
he
singing
definitely
live.
was.
Yeah,
But
because it
I don't
wasn't
know if
perfect, which I loved.
did she play that solo, or was it like
Eh,
one of those
I
logistical things because
I
the sync
agree.
was off,
It didn't quite seem to me like she was playing that solo. That's the vibe
which
you
is a
got, right?
shame. Which is a shame.
She doesn't need to prove that she can play a solo. Go
No, no,
listen
no,
to her
no.
music. I mean, she's a great player. She's awesome.
It's not about proving herself. It's
Yeah,
about
yeah,
if everything else was live, why couldn't the guitars be live? Maybe it was,
I
and
think.
it
Look,
just didn't sync up well. I don't know.
the only reason I know that it probably was not is because I listened to a No Guitar is Safe episode with the guy who played guitar for Lady Gaga, and he flat out said, he's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's all taped. It's all recorded. He's like, just
Yeah, and
logistically to get
yep.
the sound right and everything in that short of a period of time is just not a realistic thing. So he's like, yeah, it's just, we sit there, we play the parts, we do the thing, but it's not, he's like, it's not what you're hearing.
And
He
that's
was
not,
flat
but
out
that's not
about it.
true for every single band because I know like
No,
Tom
it's
Petty
not. It's
played
not.
live, U2 played
Prince
live.
did when Prince played
Prince
it.
played
He was
live.
playing guitar live. Yeah, he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it is possible to do, and I get it. These things. The halftime show has to move at a certain speed. It's timed, and they got to get in and out. And there's a lot of stuff going on all at once. The production
Yep.
is just absolutely massive. So I get it when they have to kind of fill in some of these blanks because they want perfection.
Yeah.
But I think for the guitar fan and us, it was a little disappointing if she wasn't actually playing it. But Matt's right. If you don't know her and you're not familiar with her playing, go check her out because there's no doubt she's got it.
Yeah, she has this cool like soul, like R&B flavor to her playing, and her guitar playing is it's just tasty. So
yeah.
that's what blew me away that she showed up with that guitar. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is great. Like, what a great move by Usher and the gang.
It was great.
That was so cool. I mean, oh man, yeah, it was fun.
All right,
it was almost as fun as watching the game, Dave.
I know the game was great. Not my preferred outcome, but that's okay. Hey,
yeah.
Are you a Chiefs fan? Are you a Niners fan? If you're listening Super Bowl is watched around the world. So, what do you guys like? You Chiefs? Are you happy, or are you Niners and you disappointed? Because I was.
My son, since this is a guitar dad's, my son was really rooting for the 49ers. I don't know why. Maybe because, I told him that I used to root for the 49ers when they were always winning Super Bowls with Montana. And he likes Jerry Rice. He knows about Jerry Rice. So anyway, he was I let him stay up and watch it, let him stay up for overtime. And he was like so distraught when they lost. He was like in bed, like just crying. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. It's a football game.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of went to bed mad myself, but hey, it is a game. All right. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of being thunderstruck, as expected, AC/DC has indeed announced the tour.
I know. We were expecting this, and it happened.
It's a 21-date European tour. It's a little disappointing for us.
Yeah.
But maybe it will come to the States. There will be no Phil Rudd and no Cliff Williams, no Phil Rudd on drums and no Cliff Williams on bass. But hey, if you're
Paul Rudd, huh? Oh, not too bad.
No Paul Rudd either.
Why doesn't Paul Rudd fill in on drum?
Yes, I know. But you're still going to get to see, if you go to one of these shows, Angus and Brian Johnson. So it's still kind of the thing, but not really.
Yeah. Is it still Malcolm's and Angus's nephew who's playing?
Yes,
Malcolm's
parts. Yes, it is. Yeah. It will be. Yep.
That's cool.
And we've talked about this a lot. Like, at what point now bands go through lineup changes all the time. We get it. But at what point does it no longer the band no longer exists? It's just the name, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
sport. To make a sports analogy, you're rooting for the laundry and not the team, right? So at what point, at what point did AC/DC become the name and no longer the players? I mean, minus Angus and Brian.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes, right? I mean, now it's really about Angus and Brian to the a lot of extent. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure it's going to kick ass. I'm sure it's going to be fun,
Oh,
and
of
I'm sure it's
course.
going to do well.
Yeah, it's going to
So
do great. It's going to do great.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm sure it's going to be great. So hopefully it's successful, and they come to the States, and Dave and I can finally get our chance to see AC/DC.
Well,
So
you just hope that Brian Johnson's vocals hold up. This is
hold
a
up,
big
yeah,
tour,
he's
21 dates,
it's a
it's a
lot.
lot.
It's a lot.
And if you expect them to do a US tour, you wonder is there going to be a US tour, number
You
1,
do
and number
wonder.
2,
You
if
do.
there is it going to be a large tour, because this is a big starting point for Brian Johnson. 21 dates, and he couldn't sing for a long time. He left
Yeah.
because of his vocals. So
Yeah. I thought it was his hearing.
it's
Was it his
interesting.
hearing or his vocals?
Both. It was both.
Oh, really?
Well, hearing was the primary, but he was starting to really have some problems with his
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
And so that I think that's when he kind of decided, listen, I gotta hang this thing up.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so
let's
you
see
wonder
how
if
it
he's gonna
goes.
hold up.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. It's pretty cool. They're playing all over. They're going to play 2 shows at is it Wembley or is it No, it's not Wembley. Is it?
I don't know. I've not looked at the lineup,
Oh man.
the tour dates. You do have
They're
them up
playing
there.
one of those big like London
I mean,
type
they're going to
of
be playing huge
venues.
venues.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. We'll be excited to check them out if
There's
they come to
that.
the States.
Yeah.
And we would be remiss this time of year to not mention
What?
I don't even know what to call it anymore, but
Yeah,
let's just
Sorry, I'll stop you there. It is. It's 2 dates at Wembley Stadium.
2 dates at Wembley.
That's a big deal. Big deal.
That's a big deal, but of course they're going to sell that out.
Of course they're going to play Wembley. Jeez.
It's not, and of course they're going to sell it out. It's not even a question.
It's AC/DC. Of course they're going to do that. All right.
Anyway, all right. Well,
Go back to what you were
as
saying.
I said, we'd be remiss this time of year if we did not mention, and I still can't come up with a good word to describe it. But anyway, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced their nominees. I will read the list really quickly here, just so listeners can get a taste of what's on the docket for this year.
This is like your favorite topic to talk about. Okay.
Well, because we like to bash it, as do a lot of artists, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
So here's the list: Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey, Cher, Dave Matthews Band. I found that interesting.
Yeah,
Eric
they
B. and
qualify,
Rakim,
huh? Yeah.
Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Jane's Addiction, Kool and the Gang, Lenny Kravitz, Oasis, Sinead O'Connor,
Wow.
Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, I know. So it's a list, right? I mean, it's got some names on it. I mean, some deserving, maybe, depending on your opinion, and some not. But that's how it goes every year.
Yep, totally.
And we've given our opinion on the Rock Hall, and how would you describe it?
Well, it's kind of gotten out of control, right? It's like, yeah, I think like a lot of like the recent things have been very questionable about like who should be in and who shouldn't be in. I think there's some really, clear snubs that have happened. So that's a bummer.
I mean, it's overly political these days. Some of the voters, they purposely, it's just like, keep going back to sports analogies, but it's just like that, where certain people are just kept out for certain reasons.
Yep, exactly.
And it's totally political. And it's really, now, who's the guy that, who used to be kind of in charge of the whole thing, and he's since resigned.
Oh, gee, really?
No, he died. I think he died.
Oh, he died? Oh, wow. Okay.
I can't remember now. And now, we'd have to go back.
But there's some big names. I mean, I think this could be a really great, class in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like,
well, now we're mentioning Ozzy Osbourne because obviously Black Sabbath is already in, but Ozzy, this would be his solo stuff,
Yeah, he's not in for his solo stuff, and maybe he should be. I agree.
He should be, but it's interesting because of all the musicians that he's played with and who a lot of the songwriters, so is he deserving with his solo stuff?
Oh yeah,
because
I think like
it
Blizzard
is.
of Oz is like one of the most iconic rock albums ever. So yes, I think he should
It
be in just for Blizzard of Oz. In
It
my
is, but
opinion.
it's a well-known fact that, a lot of that, he's not writing a lot of this stuff, and he certainly didn't play any of the instruments. And it's
He's
like,
saying it doesn't matter. It's his album.
it's his voice. It's his album. I get it, but there's a lot of criticism that goes into some of these solo artists because of some of these, should I say, artists who then become solo artists. They're in famous bands and then do their own thing. And should they get in? Clapton, I think, is in for his solo work.
He's the only one.
He's in for. Is he in for with Cream or Derek and the Dominoes? I can't even remember.
I think it's Cream solo and I want to say the Yardbirds.
And the Yardbirds, yes.
I could be wrong about that.
I think it is.
We've looked this up before on this very podcast.
But yeah, so so maybe he sets the bar there. Maybe Ozzy will get in. Listen, I mean, nobody. I'm not taking anything away from Ozzy at all. I'm just saying, if you're talking about like deserving of being in a Hall of Fame, I think there's certain criteria. Now, you could criticize some of the inductees of late and not really meeting some of that criteria. But now, like I said, I of course I cannot remember the guy's name, in whether he resigned or died. But he was a bit of a problem, and so this brings up, is this going to change the Rock Hall? And we'll see this year.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Clapton's the only one that's been inducted 3 times, and that's what it is. So there you go.
All right, well, there you go.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. You're really talking. I see this cold has really gotten you, huh?
This cold has got me. Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, look at but just to go back to it for a second, like Lenny Kravitz, incredible. But like Kool and the Gang. I mean, some of these are just iconic bands, right? Oasis, like, are you serious right now? Like, yeah, Oasis should be in the Rock Hall. Dave Matthews, yeah, totally. A lot of people hate Dave Matthews.
No, but we totally love him. Deserving.
But we love him. Of course, he should be in the. He was so influential back in the day.
He's so influential and just an icon in his own right. Now, Lenny, on the other hand, I mean, talk about influential. Talk about an absolute talent. Because now, I don't know if he still does this on all his records, but in his early records, all those he played them all.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't do that on every record, but it was the early records he did. Yeah, he did. He did like the Dave Grohl, like original Foo Fighters album too. Yeah, he did that, right? And so, Lenny's just like one of the greatest like performers, songwriters out there. He's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a performance Hall of Fame, Lenny would be on the top of the list.
Yeah, Lenny should
talk
be
about
there.
Guitarist, front man, everything. He just has it,
He just has it.
He's kind of like I don't want to compare him to Prince because I don't think you can really compare anybody to Prince from the performance perspective. But I think he's right up there.
He is that kind of artist. He's like that kind of performer. I agree.
Yep. He's right up there. He's playing guitar. He's singing. He's doing his thing, and he's just something to behold and if you get a chance to see Lenny Kravitz live, do it because you are in for something special.
He's so good. Yeah. Well, anyway, so the Rock Hall. Yeah. We'll see.
The Rock Hall. There it goes. All right. Well, moving on. Shall we? I think there's something coming. Nobody's sponsored it this week. We didn't get a joke this week.
Come on, guys.
Anyway, so I inserted a joke.
All right, here we go.
Hey, so Matt, well, I'm married, but anyway, I asked my new date to meet me at the gym, but she never showed up. I guess we're not going to work out.
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh, man.
I guess you're not going to work out.
Well, there you go. That was the guitar. That was the dad joke of the week.
Dad
Guys,
joke
if you submit can you just submit some jokes, will you? Because we'll call you out by name, give you credit, and maybe we'll have some better humor.
And maybe we'll read
But
your name, and maybe we'll have this different announcer come and read your name like this.
but we do, as I said earlier, we do have a listener mailbag of the week. We did have a number of comments this week, so let's get into that.
Oh, did we?
We did.
There's
yeah.
a lot of comments here.
A lot of comments.
Go.
So let's go to listener mailbag.
All right, what's in the listener
first
mailbag?
comment? First comment is from Dan Horrigan. This was in our Facebook group. He wanted to kind of know about like what's the story, like these big oversized pointless pedal boards.
Are they pointless?
It's a good point, Dan.
That sounds like a loaded question. It sounds like a leading question.
It sounds like me.
It is a leading question. Big,
it is a very leading
oversized,
question.
Pointless pedal. Why do you think they're pointless, Dan? What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, so Dan kind of alluded to why he thought it was pointless. He made some comments about it in the group, but didn't come out right out and like call anybody out for them. And in terms of like names, stars or guitarists, but we all know who were out there. Here's looking at you, John Frusciante. But there's others. There's plenty of others. You see these pictures all the time on the internet. These massive pedal boards. One of our favorites, Scott Holiday. I don't know his more recent tour. He didn't tour with such a big rig, but a few tours ago, he was using he had a massive setup because he really is about bringing the album sound to the show, and I appreciate that. So I think there's a reason.
Yep.
And that's why they use them. But me personally,
I think that is the point. It's not pointless because big boards sometimes have a point because you don't want to use a multi-effects rig. You want to have that one fuzz sound on that one song, or and especially let's say it's one thing for Scott Holiday who's playing a 2-hour set. What if you're a cover band and you're playing 3 hours of the craziest different types of music, out there, then, you definitely need a big board to cover all the bases, So I think there is a point to them, but I think what Dan's getting at here is a lot of people just want a big board just for the sake of having a big board. And I kind of get that too.
Because it looks cool, right?
Yeah. Cause you just, why not keep going? It's and it is easy to get out of control with it, but then it becomes, when it becomes pointless is when it just becomes not really a functional thing for you, where it's just ridiculous, So
I think the way is, I think live artists mostly and need to look at this as a thing of necessity, right? What sounds do you need, and what sounds are really important to the songs that you're playing, and what can you go without? You don't need everything. And oftentimes the audience is not necessarily going to know that something's missing that might have been on the recorded version. Right.
Yep.
So, and like Matt mentioned multi-effects units, there's plenty of ways to get around that massive board by using a combination even of a multi-effects, like a stomp like you use, and maybe a couple other pedals.
Or an H.E.R, if you're an amp guy, an H.E.R effects, right?
Yeah. So, yep. So there's that. But there's also people like me who don't gig. And I've talked about my massive Bordeaux Fun.
Yeah,
it is kind of my big board. It's huge. It's got 15 or 16 pedals on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of got all my favorites on there. And I just want to be able to have that access when I come to the basement and play
all the time. Yeah.
I want them ready to go. I mean, I have other boards that I like, but I like these particular effects the best. And so I use it, and there's no reason that I shouldn't have that if I'm not a gigging musician. Why not have a massive board going on?
Well, yeah. And let me tell you, because Philip and I also got into this a little bit, and he went one way and I went the other way. But, if you want a big, massive board to be functional, especially at a gig thing, then you're going to get yourself into switching systems. You just will. It's inevitable. If you're somebody that wants a big board, there are guys I don't think Scott Holiday or Frusciante. I don't know what Frusciante's rig is, but my sense is Scott Hawley doesn't really use a big switching system or anything, or maybe he does. I don't know. But I think you're
You
gonna,
know, a number of years ago, he did not have, because I watched that rig rundown.
yeah,
I
that
forget what year it was.
rundown
It
that
must
we
have been like
saw.
5 years ago. I
Yeah,
don't believe there was a switcher on those boards. He had like just a huge setup.
yeah. So I think so. So where I'm heading with this is, I think you get into that, right? You get into, okay, well,
Right.
I got all these things on my board. I got to be able to control them. What am I going to do? And then you get into a switcher. And I can tell you, as some, like I talked about this before. I got the ES5, the Boss ES5, and I use it with the Stomp and with a bunch of different analog pedals.
Yeah.
And and I love it. And for me, it's the best of both worlds. I get my analog pedals and I can do the modeling thing. Um, but it's an added layer of complication that I've added into this board. And it isn't a giant board. It's like a Stomp with like 4 or 5 pedals. It's not the end of the world, right? But if you're someone that has like 16 pedals on a board and you want to switch and all this, it gets really complicated. It takes a while to set up. The cabling alone is very
Yeah.
expensive. Like, let's just say
Yep.
that, like, just cables alone could cost you a few $100, like, no problem,
Correct.
or more if you get the right ones, I would argue. And then making sure they're all there and set up and getting the cabling clean, like, it's a big deal. There's a reason why people like Dave Friedman build massive boards for rock stars, because it's incredibly complex.
It's
And
very
then that's
complex.
and if you're a gigging musician, it just leads for more margin of error that can happen. Like, Dave, what was the famous who was it where the tech ran out on? Was it for Steve Lukather? Was it Toto?
It was Luke there. Yeah, it was Luke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the tech ran out and was able to
Power
quickly,
supply went out.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he was able to quickly diagnose. And not everybody has a tech, right? So it's like,
Right.
if you're running a big board with 3 or 4 power supplies, that's 3 or 4 points of failure for you. So you really got to think long and hard if that's really what you need, right? Do you really want to complicate your life by that much? So
the argument for it, I would say, is you mentioned, because we both own the Stomp, and I will say this: there's not
I just
every
got another
pedal
one
in the
too,
world.
Dave. Just so you know.
Did you get it? Oh, we'll save that for the gear. Hold on. You're holding stuff back from me. We didn't talk about this. Jeez. Oh man, secrets are coming out already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not every pedal plays nicely with the Stomp, if we're being honest with ourselves here. So if your current rig is set up the way you like it, sounds good to you, and it works, now you're going to start messing around with this multi-effects unit, trying to do a combo, and you got to find the right pedals that are going to play well with the Stomp, and then you're going to fool around with that. That just, there's the argument for maintaining the bigger board. If it just works for you, then great. It works for you. You should use it.
Well, I think it also, if it works for you and you can do it and you can troubleshoot it and it's easy enough, I would be, because of somebody that is playing a decent amount of gigs now, and I would be nervous about running a big board like that, right? Where there's all these different areas of failure. Like, my rig now, if something goes wrong with the whole rig, I just plug directly. I take the guitar input from my pedal board, I put the guitar input into the Stomp, and I just go straight from the Stomp, right? Because the way my rig works now is my guitar input goes into the pedal board, and the output comes right from the Stomp. The Stomp goes right to the house, and it goes in my ears and then to the front of the house. So that's, so I have a real easy way to troubleshoot in that kind of situation if something were to go wrong. If you're running into an amp and you got 20 pedals, 20, all these power supplies, gazillion cables, it's tough.
But you risky. Can also, it's very risky, but you can also mitigate that risk, by doing exactly what you said, or, you have your massive rig. And this is why the Boss IR2 is such a game changer, because you can literally walk into any gig with that literally in your back pocket, and
yeah, no, that's good,
wrong,
but that's not ideal. Like, yes, that's a good,
it's not
backup.
Ideal. No.
But it's not
a good
ideal,
backup if it's not ideal. But if you're somebody who really is dedicated to playing with their massive rig, and you're okay with taking that risk, this is that is a nice, inexpensive, easy backup to have. If you're just gonna, you can finish the night that way.
Well, I would argue just buy a Stomp at that point too. But
yeah,
but you're right. These like any of these kind of modeling, pedals and rigs and different things, like, for anybody playing, out there, if you're playing through an amp or whatever you're playing through, I think as a backup, it's a great idea to have like
Yeah,
some modeling solution if all else fails. So, but
yeah,
yeah,
and
I don't know.
they're
So,
so easy to use.
yeah, they are. And like, this big oversized pedal board, like I agree. I think you're doing too much. I think, you got to think if you're going to be someone that is going to employ one of these things, especially at a gig situation, I think I would think twice about it would be my advice that I would give to you. I would
All right,
think
well,
about
moving on.
I would
Oh,
think
go
about
ahead.
a
No,
multi I would think about a multi effects. If I was someone that wanted a million effects, I would probably get an HX, and I played through an amp, I would get an HX effects. I would just do it. So, or a stomp, smaller footprint, right?
all right, well, thanks,
So,
Dan. We appreciate the question. This kind of dovetails into the next question, which is kind of the one of the causes of these issues in a way. Corey Howell asks, "What about Timo and the knockoffs? Are they worth it?"
oh yeah, this is interesting. I
It's a
haven't
nice
gone
way to
into
get some tons of cheap
I haven't
pedals.
gone into the Temu. Have you looked at their offerings,
I,
Dave?
a little bit, yeah. I haven't purchased anything.
Temu's kind of like
I
wish.com, right? It's like
It
that.
is
Yeah,
wish.com.
yeah.
It's the new wish.com, and it
I'm gonna
makes
go
me
on to
very
it.
skeptical. Listen, Wish people it was hot and cold with Wish, and people got some good stuff and they liked it, and others didn't. And so I think that's what you're going to get with Timo or Timu or
Temu.
whatever it's called, Timu.
I just typed in
Um
guitar pedals and into
yeah,
Temu.
see
There's a
you're going to
lot of
find some of
crazy
these
stuff.
knockoffs,
Oh my god.
but I think you're taking a big risk too. I think it depends on the application. If you're just looking to have fun because maybe you want to get into different fuzzes or something, and you don't want to spend a fortune, but you want to play around, I think it could be, a good call to get something a little bit more affordable and screw around. If you enjoy it, then you can get something a little bit nicer. At the same time, I think there's probably some good knockoffs out there, just like the people found on Wish. So
Didn't people
it's
really
to
like
me,
the
it's a
Wish?
crapshoot.
Didn't people really like the Wish clone?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Although it came with its own inherent problems, of course,
Of
because
course, because it was wicked cheap. Yeah.
it's wicked cheap. And some people, and I actually even saw shootouts between different clones that people,
Oh, people got it from Wish.
clones that people
Yeah.
got on Wish, and they sounded very different.
There's a lot of cheap
So
guitar pedals on this Temu, let me tell you. Oh
tons.
my
There's
god.
tons.
It's
Name a
crazy.
few. What any do you
So
recognize
here's
any
one. It's called
knockoffs?
the M Wave electric guitar,
What
electric
is
guitar
what is it?
digital pedal. It's 2848. And what does it even do? It's a delay
What does it
pedal. It's a
emulate?
delay pedal.
Ah, what's it cloning
M
though?
Wave. I have
I
no
wonder what that
idea.
is. What does it look like? You usually can tell by the look.
Well, it's like
You
blue.
know,
No, it's definitely a delay. It's got, it's a delay pedal. What's it trying to look like? I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not as
Because
expert on guitar
some of
pedals.
these are pretty obvious what they look like.
Yeah.
And some aren't. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a crapshoot. I think it's got its place and application. Like I said, if you're looking for something really cheap just to screw around with a effect that you haven't played with, might be a good way to get your toes in the water and then see what you like.
There's a
Um,
$37 pedal board on here.
oh,
It actually doesn't look all that bad. It really wasn't all that bad.
it doesn't look all that good either.
I think it's made out of plastic. So if you want a plastic pedal board,
Yeah, that's great. Let's make something you're going to
if you
slam
want a
your foot
plastic,
on
well, maybe it's hard plastic. I don't
night
know.
after night after night. Let's make it out of plastic.
It's perfectly
Let's do that,
portable
folks.
and durable, is what it says.
Oh, okay. Durable plastic.
The
to
reviews
stand
say
on.
the holes are nice for cable management.
Oh, okay. Is that what the
I highly
holes are
recommend this. And
Who said
somebody
that?
else, the holes are nice.
So, Corey, the other part to this question that I think you did not ask, but I think I'm going to insert it here anyway, is are the reviews real? And that's the other thing you got to on these kinds of sites. You really have to be careful what you're buying.
You really so this
Um,
somebody wrote first thing, this board is plastic, which is fine, but I don't remember seeing that in the description. It looks plastic, dude. Like, use your
It
eyes.
just looks. I know.
That's pretty fun.
I don't know.
That's pretty funny, actually.
That's
But
pretty crazy.
are they worth it? I mean, look, this is like Ryan 60 cycle hum Ryan's Affordaboard. Go look at his Affordaboard videos. I think some of the things are worth it. You know?
Yes.
You
Oh
know?
no, absolutely.
You
100%.
You know, do I think, look, here's the thing, right? Do I think we should be supporting this amazing pedal market that we have and the boutique builders that are building these things and working hard and having an American business? Yeah, I think we should support them. But at the same time, not everybody can afford $200 a pedal or even $100 a pedal. You know, I totally get that. So, you know, we've actually talked about this before. You know, if you're someone that, you know, wants to try a bunch of different things and, you know, really can't afford that, doesn't have that kind of a budget, yeah, try it. You know, they are. I'm sure these are like straight up knockoffs that maybe they're
or if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out with guitar and you don't have a board and you want to get a compressor, a drive, a fuzz, you know, and you know, maybe a distortion and maybe a delay or something, and there's your board. This is a great way to do it affordably, and now you got something to screw around with. But Matt's point about the more quality stuff that's out there, you need to support that market in any way you can. You know, you can't. Not everybody can afford a $500 pedal,
or even a $200. I mean, a $200 pedal
or
is a lot of money.
pedal.
You know, you can buy a $200 guitar. You can buy a $200 guitar that's a playable guitar these days. Yes. Right. So like if you want to do this on a, you know, really low cost, you can do it. You can go on Amazon. Now you can go on Temu. You can buy stuff. You can experiment with it. I mean, why not? Like, try it out. But don't make that be the only thing you buy. You know, if you really get into pedals, save up a little money and buy used, you know, support the used thing. That's fine too.
Tons of good used stuff.
You know, you can get some used stuff for good deals. You know, go on the used market and try up some of the other pedals that people rave about. You know, I think it's worth it. I think it is worth it. So, but yeah, you know, all these things are going to come and screw up the market to some extent. So.
Well, we got one more question, and actually this will lead us directly into our gear segment. Andy Klassen asks, can you guys talk about the new H.E.R signature? And the answer, Andy, is yes.
We already did, and that's
we already did, but we're going to talk about it more.
We already did, but that's all I'm going to say about it.
No, so let's get right into our gear segment of the week.
Do we have a sound effect? Oh.
Jeez.
Why does a gear segment of the week start with the door slamming sound?
I don't know, because if you're listening to this, you probably should have shut the door on us a long time ago. I mean, that's just
like what's symbolic
on?
It's symbolic of you slamming the door shut on this podcast.
So this H.E.R. she does have a signature that was, what was it, a couple of years ago that it was released, because she played what did she play in the Super Bowl halftime show? Was it America the Beautiful? I can't remember.
Oh, really?
I think it was last year, right? Was it last year, 2 years ago?
2021.
2021.
She did, yeah.
But this one, she was asked to be part of the halftime show kind of at the last minute. And she went to Fender and said, hey, what can we do? And they literally put this thing together in very short order. So this was never meant to be a signature, but I think this thing has set the gear world on fire.
Oh man.
And if Fender doesn't release this as her new signature, if she doesn't go along with this, then I think they're all crazy.
Yeah, they got to do this. They got to make one. So interesting. What I read about this was they did it with. I mean, let's just talk about the color.
The color is insane.
The color. It turns out what the color is like a transparent, like pearloid. Well, I guess it's a red. It's a transparent red over like a pearloid.
Over a pearl, yeah,
finish,
and it's just gorgeous.
Which is similar to her current signature, but what they did is they put this transparent red over it and this like black kind of anodized, looks like an anodized pick guard,
so
black
good.
covered pickups. single coils.
I
It
was
just looks
never.
incredible. But the
I'm not
finish
a
on
fan
it,
of red guitars with black pickup with black pick
I
guards,
wouldn't think I
but
would
the
be
pick
either.
guard is it just works
But
with
this
this.
color, it looks like a maybe darker and more like pearlescent, candy apple red. Just incredible looking. It really
Yep.
kind of blows me away, this color. It's a rosewood board. Her
Yep.
signature has a maple board, and it's got a matching headstock to the color.
Matching headstock.
Yeah. And so what
And
they're
we
saying
know that can
is
be polarizing.
what they're saying is she wanted something with a slightly thinner neck profile, to make it a little bit easier to play for her, she said. So this one is sporting a thinner neck profile as well. Other than that, it's very similar to her other signature. But yeah, Fender's got to put this thing out. This was done by the custom shop. They revealed, like you said, Dave, like this is a one-off for the Super Bowl. But I think it has like set the gear world on fire that they got to come up with the Mexican version of this and and get it out there.
They got to get it out there
because hers is made in Mexico. I think it's about $1,300. The signature that she has now, which when that came out, I was blown away by that as well. I think that thing's incredible.
This is better,
but this is this one is really like I would have to consider buying one of these if it comes out.
Me too. I'm not a Strat guy, but this is like this thing just to own this thing, just to look at this. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
it really is almost like a piece of art in a way. It just like how vibrant those colors are. And I know pictures on the internet do that, but I mean, man, this is
they got to figure out how to do this thing in real life.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks great.
It's just unbelievable. I agree, Dave. Like, why would I like kind of like a blacked out Strat with a red? It's just something about the red that just really stands out. And I'll tell you the truth, I'm not a big fan of matching headstock guitars either, but this just
neither
works.
am I. It works.
This
here.
just works.
It works.
So I don't know. There's just something really badass about it. So
yeah, it just looks like a mean ass rock machine is what it looks like. All right, real quick, because we are heading up on time. We will bring a lot of other stuff to and finish going into more detail on some of these things on the Patreon episode.
Okay.
But so Gibson did bring back the SG Supreme. This is part of their the Supreme line, which came out like 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
They had done the Les Paul Supreme and the but anyway, so these are coming in four different color combinations. There's one of them is a 3 pickup. That's the ebony finish.
Okay.
And that does come in Fireburst, translucent ebony burst, and wine red otherwise.
Man, I love
these things. Look kind of now. I don't know. I you know me. I'm a very much a I don't know, Jim.
Okay, Tony Romo.
It's you know me. I'm a traditionalist, and I feel like if any guitar needs to remain kind of classic looking, to me it's the SG. So I don't dig the finishes.
See, I'm actually on the opposite end of that spectrum. I think I would rather you mess with the SG than the Les Paul. I don't love the Les Paul Supreme. I think it looks cool and they're really nice looking, but I don't love them. I also don't think a proper Les Paul should have a thinner body. If I'm not mistaken, the Supreme does a little bit of a thinner body. I don't know if
does it okay.
If I'm not mistaken, in the Les Paul, I think it comes with a little bit of a thinner body. Or maybe am I messing that up with something else? I don't know.
If
correction,
you're messing that up,
correction police.
Correction.
Hit me up.
Got the correction police here. We'll have that sponsored.
But these
on the
colors,
next
I
episode.
really love these colors. I love them.
See,
you don't like them?
You're wrong. You're wrong.
The Fireburst, the wine
dig
red.
I dig the finishes. If they were on a different body shape, I would be all over the wine red, and I'd be all over the Fireburst.
Okay.
Like if these were like a nice, like a PRS, like a core model, and it came like a finish like that, I'd be all over it.
They look pretty nice.
I just can't get the SG to me should not be touched. That's just my take.
Yeah. I don't know,
And
man.
you
I
know,
don't
it's got
know.
all like it's got all the modern, you know, accoutrements and things like that. You know,
Oh,
with the with the splits and all that stuff, and it's cool. I don't know. Maybe the three pickup black I could get behind. You know,
that's
just
cool.
because it looks a little bit more traditional. Um,
That's cool.
but yeah, I don't know. There's those.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think, look,
you know,
for a little bit more money, what is it? That's like a full grand more. I mean, they come with these accoutrements. I don't, it's not for everybody, but
they're coming in at three. They're coming in at 3,499 too.
what's
You
what's
know,
a what's like a standard SG go for?
I don't know
I
these
thought
days.
they're
Let's
up at
look that
like,
up.
almost, what are they, probably like 25?
I don't think. Yeah, I think I want to say they're around that money. Because 34.99. I mean, I know what you're getting. You're getting a little bit extra here.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I mean you can really get a nice. You can. Oh no, these are much like a Heritage Cherry standard.
yeah. How much?
Like a standard SG 17.9.
Really? Okay, yeah. I guess they're
Yeah.
not bound or anything.
You're talking about if you're talking about like the standard 61 with
Yeah,
the
with the
Vibrola,
Vibrola, what's
those
that
are
go?
the 20, those are coming in at like 24.99.
Okay, and these are coming in a full grand higher. Interesting.
These are coming in a full
Yeah,
grand higher than
yeah.
that.
That's a lot. No, I'm not gonna
So
lie.
it's a
That's a
lot.
lot of money. They are
That's a
fancy
lot
looking
more.
though, and they have the AAA maple tops on them. So those
They do.
are. And the red one is really awesome looking. I don't know. I like them. I don't know. Like I said, I would. They're pretty cool compared. I think compared to the Les Paul Supreme, I think they're cool. I think they're cool.
All
So
right. Well, we're going to talk a lot about this gear this week on Patreon, but real quick to move on before we wrap up, Epiphone did so. The Adam Jones Silver Burst thing has just like
oh yeah, you
exploded
want to talk about that for a
in the
second?
last like
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
So now the Epiphone Adam Jones custom shop is going to be coming out. This is going to be the first like standard line Jones guitar from Epiphone,
Yeah.
which I think is very cool. And it's yet another Epiphone release with the Gibson esque headstock, like on the greenie. And these
It's
are
a
going to come in
Gibson
at
headstock
14.99.
that says
Yeah,
Epiphone on it. That's what it is.
it's a Gibson esque headstock.
No,
It's
no,
not
it's the
exactly the
same
Gibson
one,
headstock.
isn't it?
It is not exactly the same. No,
Oh, okay. I thought it's very
it
similar.
is
It
not
looks almost
exactly
exactly the same to me.
It looks almost exactly the same.
But anyway, so they're releasing this with the Gibson type headstock, just like they did with the Greenie. This Adam Jones signature has kind of swept the world here. It's like
Seriously.
unbelievable. They did the Gibson
And
USA.
what did you say? It's pushed the silver burst market way up.
Oh
If
yeah.
you go online and you're trying to buy
Oh yeah.
a Les Paul silver burst of any kind, the prices are just out of control.
It made the more of a vintage one, like the late 70s, early 80s vintage Gibson custom silver burst. It made those go completely through the roof. Those are now, I want to say, we could go to Reverb right now, but I want to say they're in the $6 to $7 grand minimum, whereas they used to be in the 3 to 5 range. So it really has bumped them up big time. When they put out that,
and you used to have a real hankering for a silver burst.
I still would like to own a custom silver burst. I waited too long. I should have bought one before this came out.
I know. then you could have sold it and made.
I know, unbelievable. So that's where it goes. But anyway, yeah, cool.
But
cool.
anyway,
Good for we've talked about Epiphone. We talked about how excited I am about the Dave Grohl Epiphone coming out, and I am going to get one. It's a done deal. I'm getting one, Dave. And
yeah, you ordered it.
It's been ordered, pre-ordered, I guess. I think Epiphone continues to come out with more affordable stuff. You might argue a 1,500 Epiphone's ridiculous, but the Gibson version, the Gibson
is the
USA,
going rate for these signatures now.
It's half the price of the Gibson USA version of this guitar. Half the price.
Yep.
So that's significant. So
And I think you're going to get a quality instrument with this. I might have, you know me, I'm not, averse to the Epiphones. So I might have to jump on something like this, maybe one of these days, or like the Greenie or something. Because they look tasty.
I'm coming around on the Epiphones. We've had many discussions on this podcast about how I don't like the Epiphones, but I was playing your Slash Epiphone for, I don't know, 10 minutes the other day. Couple weeks ago, and it wasn't bad. I kind of liked it. Then I looked at the head. I looked at the headstock and puked. But before that, I liked it.
Don't look at the headstock. Just cover it up with a paper bag. That's how you play it, with a paper bag, like a lunch bag. You bring like third grade. Like one of those kinds of bag lunch kind of thing.
You know what I'll do? I'll put a bucket, like a KFC like bucket on it. So instead of like bucket head, I'll be like a bucket headstock.
Bucket headstock. I'm gonna make that meme. If you want to play an Epiphone but you can't stand the headstock, bucket headstock is what you need. Jeez. Anyway,
that's amazing.
Oh man, this might be a great time to wrap up.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And speaking of the Epiphone Slash, I'm going to bring something up on Patreon that I wonder if other listeners have had this issue. Maybe I should bring it up on the main episode, but I am going to bring it up because I had a question for you guys.
Just do it for the guys.
Reach out if you've had the same problem, because I have that guitar tuned half a step down, as it should be. I realized over the last few months of owning it and playing it, I'm like, it just doesn't stay. It doesn't sound like it's in tune, even though it says it's in tune. And I use a Polytune, and it's always in tune, and it just doesn't sound right until I ended up buying a Boss TU3 to use on a different board. And today I decided to plug it into that tuner, and it was even though it was just in tune on the Polytune.
That's crazy.
It was out of tune on the Boss.
That seems crazy to me.
And both tuners you can set to flat, so that I don't think the Polytune, maybe the Polytune for some reason was having trouble getting into the flat. I don't know.
So I don't know, Dave. I have a Polytune Mini on my home board, one of my home boards, and it is fine on the half step down. So I don't know.
It's interesting, yeah.
Like I play it with that.
If you've had that problem, reach out.
I'll put it down with the Polytune a half step, and I'll play along with H.E.R, and it seems fine. So,
yeah, it just never sounded right to my ears, but I trusted the tuner. I thought it was insane.
Yeah, well,
and when I tuned it up today, it sounded great. So
yeah,
hey,
well, there you
there
go.
it is.
Well, there it is.
Well, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. We would be. We when we say this, we mean it. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate each and every one of our listeners. If you're new to this thing, please come back next week. We hope you enjoyed today's, whenever you're listening to this content. Go over to Instagram at Guitar Dads Podcast and Facebook at Guitar Dads Podcast. And please, if you so choose, go to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast, where you can sign up and support the show if you're able to. And with that support, you get some bonus content, which is where we're about to take this over to Patreon. Matt, you got anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, for now, that was this week's Guitar Dads Podcast.
Keep rock alive. We'll catch you on the flips.